In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Montblanc Hemingway fountain pen. I'll go over the specs, I will do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about this pen coming up. This is the Montblanc Hemingway, and this was the first pen in Montblanc's very popular Writers series. This was released in 1992, and based on the information that I could find, Montblanc was planning to make 30,000 of them. This is the only pen in the Writer series that I'm aware of that wasn't individually numbered. So instead of it being like, 120 out of 30,000, like I have on this Agatha Christie, it would be, this is number 6015 out of 30,000. These were not individually numbered. But if it is 30,000, I've seen other places say 20,000. Either way, this is, and whether, it's unknown whether Montblanc actually made that many. Did Montblanc make these for a number of years, and how long were they, sold in ADs and boutiques? I don't know. If you guys have an idea about that, I would be interested, because 30,000, that's just so many pens. And whether they got there or not, this pen is not rare. If you want a Montblanc Hemingway, you will find many readily available for sale at any time. Now, it is an expensive pen. These go for, I would say, $1,500 on the low end up to $3,500, depending on how complete the box set is, box papers, condition, the nib type, and whether it's, a set with a ballpoint and a pencil will kind of adjust the value there. But they definitely made a lot of these. Now, it's one of the most desirable Writer Series pens, I think mainly because it just looks really nice. The newer ones that they make now are a lot more gaudy, they have a lot more metal. They just don't look as elegant as this. This looks like a Montblanc 139 from the 40s. We have more of the flat tops and the old style clip. Here I have a Montblanc Meisterstück 124, which is from the early 40s here. And you can just see similarities here in design. This being prior to the 1.3 series, this is the 1.2 series. It doesn't have as fancy of trim, but we can just see how nicely replicated a lot of these details were here. What I also think makes this pen desirable is that this is a 149 size or 139 size. So this is, the big pen. I believe was it the Oscar Wilde? There was one other one not too long after this pen that was a 149 size. And then there was the Homer. But other than that, they've all been 136 or 146 size, which would be like this. So showing the nibs here, you can just see the bigger 149 versus the 146 size nib there. If we take a closer look at the pen here, again, this is really a 139. We have Hemingway's signature on here, but otherwise, it says Meisterstück on the cap band, and it says Edition Montblanc, but otherwise, this really looks like a pretty standard pen. The nib is basically just a random or just a standard 149 nib of the time. Nothing really special there. The grip section is pretty much the same. The pen is brown and orange, so it's a dark brown and this really nice orange color, but there's really just not a lot to it. It's piston filler, piston knob here. This looks again like a 139. In terms of uncapping it, about 1 1/4, which is very good. Interestingly, you can see an injection molding line here on the threading and here on the back. They're able to cover that up on the grip section though, and the rest of the pen, so you don't see any injection molding lines there. This pen has a fine nib on it, which is more desirable. The medium is the most common, and then I think the broad is maybe the most desirable. Back then the broads would have been quite stubbish, Okay, let's do the size and weight here. So in terms of the length, we're looking at about 134. Uncapped, looking at 124. Then posted, this does post very nicely. Looking at roughly 160. Then the grip section, 13.8 millimeters, and where it should be narrowest, 12.4 millimeters. So very, very comfortable pen. It balances beautifully in my hand. I use this posted and unposted. It's a very, very comfortable pen, just like a 149 is. Now, in terms of the weight, this does have ink in it. We're looking at 33.8 grams. Now, here's an empty modern 149, 31 grams. So they're really pretty much the same weight. Now, uncapped, 23.8 grams. It has some, it does feel quite solid. It doesn't feel cheap in any way, but it's not overly heavy at all. Now, we could do some comparisons here. We've already seen a few pens, but here it is with the Agatha Christie, which was the second in the Writers series after the Hemingway. Here it is with a 149. Here it is with an Aurora 88. Here it is with a Lamy Safari. So it's a big, oversized pen, very comfortable, not too heavy. Okay, let's do the writing sample. For the writing sample, I'm going to be using a Papermind Tomoe River Twin Ring notebook. These notebooks are excellent for fountain pens, and for Blake's broadcast viewers and subscribers, you can get 10% off with code BB10 at checkout. This is the Montblanc Hemingway, and this is a fine, and this is Hiroshi Zuku Konpeki. Do fast writing. No performance issues here. In terms of flexibility, so I'll do no pressure with some pressure. There's a little bit there. I don't feel like this is a particularly nice 149 nib. Not that it's a bad one, but the older ones are a bit softer and a bit more special feeling. I mean, this is still a nice nib, but so like no pressure. Let's try writing with some pressure. You push on it a little bit, you definitely do get some line variation there that we can clearly see. But I don't know, it just writes kind of like a regular fine to me. It doesn't have that special feeling for me. It is smooth. I would say this pen is maybe a little bit on the drier side. I don't have issues with it skipping or hard starting, but it's definitely not a wet nib by any means. Reverse writing, wow, that is actually very fine and not particularly scratchy. Like, it doesn't catch or anything like that. So I would say it's not a bad candidate for that. You get a pretty sizable improvement there. Yeah, this is a nice pen. So what are my pros and cons for the Montblanc Hemingway fountain pen? Well, I love the vintage, 1930s look. I like that this is a more understated pen for a Montblanc Writer Series pen, and I really like the larger 149 size. It is very comfortable. It posts very well. It's just an elegant, good-looking pen, and it writes nicely. Now, in terms of cons, and in case you're wondering, that is a blimp up there, and they have figured out a way to advertise in my view. There's no place left where there can't be an advertisement, apparently. Anyway, that's a con for my view right now. As for cons for the pen, these are expensive. Around $2,000 is where you will tend to find these, depending on the condition, how complete it is, whether it's the 3-pen set or a single pen set. For me, it's too much money. I am selling this pen. I'm going to let it go. I can just have a 149 for $400 or $500 that will give me the same or better writing performance than this. The nib on this pen is nice, but it's not a wow in any way. I don't really have any complaints about the way that it writes, but it's not special in my opinion. That's ultimately it. I do like this pen. I just really wish, if it was $1,000, I would probably be more willing to hold on to it. But at 2,000, I think I'm just gonna let it go. So, do you guys have this pen? Do you like this pen? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more fountain pen, paper, and ink videos, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much, and until next time.